Welcome to the third season of the What's Your Story podcast with your host, Ron Coughlin. This podcast dives into the exciting world of AI for marketers. Each episode, we chat with some of the top marketing leaders and educators who are using AI to transform their strategies. Get ready to discover how AI is revolutionizing marketing and learn how you can leverage these powerful tools to help grow your business and career. We look forward to you joining us for an exciting discussion each week about the power of AI.
From the What's Your Story podcast, and we're back again today to talk to some really interesting leaders, someone I've known from a long time ago. Actually, Dan was part of a team that I had to paint houses in Toronto called College Pro Painters. And Dan has since then gone on to do some amazing things. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about that today, and also about where he thinks things are going in terms of digital marketing and AI and other things that are happening out there. So welcome, Dan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Ron. It's great to reconnect with you after many years.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are and your successes, and then we're going to kind of get into that area of digital marketing and AI afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've always had a keen interest in business, and so from a young age, I was a little entrepreneur out there, flipping newspapers and getting part-time jobs. And one of the great opportunities I had was working with you at College Pro Painters.
Yeah.
My first time really managing people. And so it was great to start at a young age and also make some good coin that enabled my ability to travel. The money I made from College Pro helped me travel after university. And thanks for that opportunity to work with you many years ago. It was
you were my production manager, and I had the franchise at College Pro Moore Park in the Bridle Path, and we did quite well, if you recall. And it allowed me to charge a certain amount of money and also pay people fairly well. And it did so well. I got to go away to Greece, and you were running things for a while. And I used to smile. I was making money while I sat on the beach, so.
Yeah.
But so great experience.
Well, funny story, Ron. People always ask you, what's your most embarrassing story? And mine is related to you. And you probably remember this, but so I was working for you as a production manager, driving your vehicle, and I had a little fender bender at the paint store. And then I was following you to the garage to get the car fixed. And it was raining, and I slid and bumped into you. Yeah. So they were both your cars. Someone ran up and said, "I'll tell you, I was the witness." And you turned to them and said, "They're both my bloody cars." And I still, to this day, when people ask me my most embarrassing story, I say, well, I was following my boss in a car, and I hit his car with his other car. So, which ironically, that's one of the life's lessons: is you have adversity in life. You have to figure out how to stand up when you make a mistake and learn from them. And I think that was, over my career, that's ironically an important thing that I tell people now is, the ability to self-analyze and the ability to learn from your mistakes and learn from other people is something that I think has been really helpful in my career over the years. So,
Well, you're welcome. But to go back there, I was in a car accident about 5 years ago, and my whole back seized up, and I could hardly move my neck. And they did an X-ray, and they said, "It looks like you've had a fracture in your neck before." So I have a sense that something happened there that I didn't really deal with at the time. So I should have. But anyway, there is life's learned lesson. I, as a manager, probably didn't handle it very well at the time. But
No,
what do you do?
I don't remember you. I'm sure you could have handled it a lot worse. So,
Yeah. So
uh,
so you went on and actually became a manager, right? A college pro after.
I did. Yep. Yep. I was able to, take the experience as operations manager and negotiate my franchise, and did that. And then I did a business degree at Laurier and a co-op program. So that got my foot in the door in a bunch of bigger companies, and decided that, the marketing and business was the right path for me. And then I've over my career, I've worked for 4 fairly large companies in progressive roles. So I worked for Nielsen, a large marketing research company, and progressed to work on both manufacturers and retailers. And generally, the work there was about trying to, Nielsen obtains data from retailers, compiles all the data, and then sells it back to packaged goods manufacturers. And so it can be used by marketing and sales people. And my role was to help them get value from the data, and ideally try to sell them more data that's more valuable. And you really, again, that, the lessons I learned on my road there was really the importance of balancing creativity with data. This sort of left brain, right brain, that's really important, I think, for business people. And really try to dig deep into understanding brands and where the opportunities are to make changes to grow them. And so that was a great foundation. I also personally have a love for passion for travel. And so I worked for 5 years, and then I left, and my wife, now girlfriend at the time, we went and traveled Africa for 6 months, and traveled across Canada and a bit of Europe, and we got engaged in South Africa. And when I got back, I ended up going to work for Campbell's Soup Company. And ironically, it was some of my previous clients who were the president and VPs at Campbell's. And so I made an impression on them when I was at Nielsen, and got an opportunity to work both in category management and in marketing at Campbell's. And that really, on my journey, I think for young people and for everybody, it's all about kind of learning opportunities, and had a fabulous mentor who was P&G marketing trained, but didn't love the P&G excessive structure and discipline. And so he had gone to Campbell's, and he was one of my bosses, Nick Evans. He's an executive coach now as well. And so he really taught me the foundation again of being the marketing leader in packaged goods organization. You're kind of the center of the hub, working with sales and manufacturing, and the plant was right in the same building in Etobicoke. And one of my proud moments there is I launched Campbell's Chunky Chili, and it was a brand innovation, something I had passion for, was trying to stretch the brand in different ways. And it was so successful in Canada that they launched it in the US as well. And if I only had gotten a royalty on that over the years and had some equity, it would have been life would have been a lot sweeter. But anyway, that was my career evolved to go there. And then from there, I went on to Yum Restaurants, and they own Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell. And really connecting to my passion of travel, I really wanted to have expat assignments, and Campbell's did not have as interesting and didn't execute as many expat assignments. And so I went on to Yum, and was lucky enough to get promoted into the chief marketing officer role for Europe. And so I packed my family up, and we managed 26 countries in continental Europe. Russia was at the time a very big part of the business, and it was so I was going to Russia once a week, trying to turn around the KFC business over there. And so did the Yum International role, and then I decided when I got back from Switzerland, I was CMO of Canada, and then we weren't really happy living in Toronto. We wanted to be in the mountains and the outdoors, and so I packed my young family up and we moved out to beautiful Western Canada, which is where my family and I are based now, and a career at Pattison Food Group, which is a large multinational food retailer, third or fourth biggest in Canada.
Well, we both have a bit of fast food in us, don't I?
Yeah, absolutely. They're big marketers, big spends on marketing and trying to feed people and figure out how to do that in a profitable way.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When I joined Dairy Queen, it was bought by Warren Buffett. So they wanted to revamp the brand, change the old ways they had done things. And they brought in a CMO for international side named Michael Keller. And Michael hired me and to be his VP of marketing for North America. And it was amazing, to apply real research, and the success was incredible. However, the travel was not incredible. It was too much. 170 days a year on the road. It was, a lot of air miles and a lot of hotels, and it was in a lot of restaurants. It was not, even though it sounds glamorous, it was not so good after a while. So, Mm.
I had a similar experience when I was in the European role. We traveled 3 out of 4 weeks for 4 days, and it was I knew quickly that it wasn't something for me for the long term, but it was a good experience for the short term.
Yeah. So this world of marketing has been changing quite a bit over the last 10 years and even over the last 5 years. Incredible change in terms of the digital side of things and social media and other things. But one of the areas which is really, especially this past year, has really taken off is AI and its integration into a lot of ways in which marketers can create content, can target individuals. And so what's your perspective on AI, and where do you think it's going, I guess?
Yeah, well, it's certainly changing the world. And I think it's critical for business leaders to get a good understanding of how quickly it's changing, what opportunities it offers, both the consumer facing side, how the consumers are changing, and realistically how your work processes change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's going to fundamentally change the workplace. And initially when it came out, I thought, oh, well, the more creative side is going to be safe, and the strategy will be key, and it's just going to be some base efficiency. But the more you test it and play with it, the more you realize that it has the ability to fundamentally change and do a lot of work that humans were doing. And so, for instance, at Pattison Food Group, we had a large team that managed the social media of the 11 different retail brands that we managed. And so I really, as a leader, my philosophy was to try to learn about it myself, and more importantly, create curiosity in my people so that they could go out and learn about it as well, while also trying to manage the fear that comes along with it, because it's going to reduce the workload of people, and it's going to make them more efficient, and people are going to be fearful for how their jobs are changing. And so, using an example of back to social media, just testing brand posts and using it as a creative writing tool, ChatGPT specifically, that really helped the team. ChatGPT, create a post for a grocery store for Super Bowl, and give me 10 different posts. Make it funny, make it a poem, give it a and so really trying to create that curiosity in people in terms of how this tool can help from a creative side. And then certainly I ran a very large loyalty program with millions of consumers and all of their data, and managing and better understanding your consumer, doing CRM and one-to-one marketing is really changed how marketers target customers and better understand customers and the number of profiles you can have. And over the last, again, I started 28 years ago or 25 years ago at Nielsen with data, and right to my last day of work before retiring, constantly using data as well. And the AI just provides better data manipulation and data access and better kind of testing and learning. And so, once again, that's going to evolve the workplace and create opportunities for marketers. In my career, again, when I started, the internet didn't exist, and I've launched e-commerce businesses, in Europe and Canada, grocery, QSR, Pizza Hut, people, they don't phone. And so learning to understand how consumers interact with digital and data has been a key part of the growth of my career.
Yeah, I think, you said something really interesting. So using these platforms, you can test things, you can evolve things. And I think one of the biggest areas that when I'm talking with people is, you can't just feed it something and use it. You have to have intervention from humans. So, learning how to use it is critical. So there's a lot of great training tools out there. And some of the people I've talked to on the podcast, and partners that I deal with, like at Google, there's a new Google Essentials AI training that's out there. And one of the things I've done for my classes is actually add it as a part of their course. So they have to do about 30 hours of actual online certification. But by the end of it, they're certified to the most up-to-date information related to AI today. So and so getting people adjusted and trained is really important, I think, from there. What are the lessons that you've learned, in the last couple of years from your people or whatever, in learning using these tools like AI tools?
I would say, there's a couple things. I would say the importance of testing your philosophies, from a consumer perspective. Over my career, the ability to slice and dice consumer hypothesis has really grown, and with AI, it's the ability to slice and dice the data in more complicated ways, and then the CRM tools is then going to, with AI, start guiding you towards new hypotheses that maybe you haven't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is where the tools are evolving, and that's where the Adobes of the world are building add-on tools so that it will, rather than the user telling it, create a target of lapsed customers by X number of days who were previously gold customers who exhibited these habits. It's going to be the tool telling you the outcomes, because AI is learning from the kinds of things that you've been inputting, and so I think that's going to be, rather than led by the user, the tool is going to do more of the work, and so that, I think that's one of the things. And again, it's this constant reality of change. And how do you create a culture and an environment where people will change how they work? One of my old bosses used to always say, people are like water. They flow down the river and they continue to go down a path. And to create change, you have to create an environment where they're not just going to keep doing the same old thing. You got someone who's been doing your marketing for 10 years, and they're naturally going to do it the same way that they are comfortable doing it. And creating an environment that encourages people to learn and test and use things is one of the leader's critical jobs. And I saw it with AI. I was given the opportunity in the Jim Pattison group. We have an annual conference with all the companies that Jim Pattison owns. It's at a senior level, so all the presidents and C-suite members from the outdoor group, the Can4, and so on. And I taught a seminar on AI to the leaders. I had to learn it myself and teach it. That's how he runs his conferences. And in the group there was probably 15 executives, and some of them were clearly engaged in AI and learning about it, and others were apprehensive and nervous and didn't want to engage in it, and worried about it. And you see that in the news, and countries wanting to ban AI. And there's certainly some risks in AI. We've all seen the movies, and it's going to fundamentally, I believe it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. And so, rightfully so. But as leaders, you have to learn the environment, get to know it, and understand how it's going to impact your people and your business.
You say we could lose jobs. Probably can happen, but I also think people have to learn different skills. So there might be jobs, but other jobs. So that some jobs, yes, will be reduced. But the other part of this is we still need human intervention to make it real and make it exact or make it accurate. I think that's what we're finding in a lot of different environments today. So we're running down the last couple of minutes here of the podcast, and I just wanted to thank you for joining us today. And in terms of people's careers and where they're going, what's the biggest kind of major piece of advice you could give someone today trying to get into the marketing world, digital marketing world?
Well, I think a couple of tips that I would offer. I had one boss who told me, always try to prove that you can do the job above you by doing it before it's your job. Mm-hmm. So, people want to get promoted, they want more money, and the risk the boss has is whether you're going to actually be able to do the job. And so through my career, I've always tried to take on projects one level above, or jobs one level above, without the title and the pay. And that's proved to be an important thing for myself. I think the other tip I would give is to really think about it as if you own the business. I've been lucky enough to work for some fabulous entrepreneurs, starting with you, but I've worked for, Jim Pattison, one of the most successful entrepreneurs when I was young as a franchise business. And when I was in Europe, the very successful entrepreneurs that owned hundreds of stores. And if you treat your brand and your business like you own it, then that creates a filter. And having passion for figuring out how to really understand a brand, how consumers interact with it, and constantly evolving and changing. I think that's an important career advice I'd give. And it's just so we can do the top 3 list. I would say the other great advice I got is really just the ability to self-evaluate your own skill set and have honest conversations with people around you, and bring forward, they always ask strengths and weaknesses in interviews. And some people have great awareness of their strengths and weaknesses, and other people hide from their weaknesses. And I think it's really important to understand and grow. I had one particular fellow who worked for me at the tail end of his career, and he was very passionate, very competitive, and he wanted to do everything. And he didn't, at the time, have the awareness of what he was really, really good at, and maybe what he wasn't as good at, and therefore finding people to surround him on those areas. Not that he needed to develop those skills and do it all himself, right? To find other people. And so, and I can tell you, I have obviously over my career had many coaching and performance reviews, and the most successful people have great awareness of their strengths and weaknesses and can talk through them, as opposed to being defensive and denying their weaknesses. And so if you can build this confidence in yourself that you do have a number of strengths, then that allows you to recognize a couple weaknesses and either develop them, or more importantly, surround yourself with other people who can help you succeed.
Absolutely. I know those are great tips for young people, and this world is changing, but how you treat others and how you evolve as an individual and how you grow has not changed. And I think those are some terrific tips for young people trying to get into the marketing world. So I want to thank you, Dan, and it was great getting caught up on this podcast, the What's Your Story podcast. This podcast can be found on Spotify, on iTunes, and Google Podcasts, as well as in the U.S. on National Radio Public. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we'll be chatting with you soon once again on this What's Your Story podcast. Now, Dan, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, and so that's probably the easiest. If you Google me on LinkedIn and reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to connect. I right now, as I mentioned, I retired at the beginning of this year, and going after my passions of supporting my family, doing traveling and sports, but I'm also looking for charity opportunities, support charities, and I'm doing some consulting and board work as well. And so if anyone loves coaching people, and so if anyone ever has any questions, I'm happy to support. And again, I'm on LinkedIn, Dan Howe, and if you look under marketing or any of the companies I've mentioned, I'm sure I'll pop up along with some PR stories over the years too.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. So get a hold of Dan Howe here on LinkedIn, and maybe he can help you shape your business and help you grow your people. And once again, this is the What's Your Story podcast signing off for today. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Take care.